All right, Clemson and Duke preview. We got a lot of talking points here. As I said at the top, Clemson leads the all-time series 37-16 and one tie. Clemson leads the road series. So the last meeting was on November 17th, 2018. Clemson won that by a score of 35-6, and Clemson is on a 5-game win streak against the Blue Devils. The spread is currently at 13 points with the over/under being 5.5. If
55
if
and a
given the
half, right?
what did I say? Sorry.
I only heard 5.5.
Oh, yeah, 55.5. If you had to pick one of those for Clemson to cover the 13-point spread or the over/under, which one of those would you take?
See, I'm kind of thinking that 13-point spread is a little low. So I would rather Clemson cover that spread, and if Clemson wins 49-0, technically you cover the spread and go under. So
I would love a 49-0 matchup there. All right, I got a fun fact for you, courtesy of Dabo Uniform Tracker on Twitter. Don't follow Dabo Uniform Tracker. They are back and active for the season. So if you were ever wondering what Clemson's record was, depending on what Dabo's wearing, they got you covered. So Dabo has broken out sweatshirt for each of the 3 meetings with Duke since he has taken over as head coach. And this will not happen Monday based on the fact that it's going to be temperatures in the high 80s. This begs the question, Matthew, if Duke takes advantage of the sweatshirtless Dabo and beats, will we as fans hold him accountable and push him to wear a sweatshirt for a 2:15 kickoff in Death Valley next week?
No. Maybe if it was a different team that isn't who are we playing, Charleston Southern.
Yeah.
If it was like a similar, what's the word? Super.
Caliber?
No, like what's superstitious? If it was like the same like level of superstition where Dabo's only beaten this team while wearing the sweatshirt, then I would agree. But this is Charleston Southern, so I don't want Dabo to have a heat stroke.
So you were saying if we play Alabama next week, it would be advantageous to wear it because Dabo has not lost to Alabama while wearing a sweatshirt.
Sure. Yeah. That's what I said.
So this is the hard-hitting stuff people came to this podcast for. Yeah, give Form Tracker a follow. Back to the football. Clemson's attempting to improve to 96, 24, and 8 all-time in season openers. The Tigers won 13 of their last 15 season debuts. Entering the game, Clemson has not lost to Duke since 2004. Dabo Swinney's second season as Clemson's wide receiver coach. The winning head coach that year was Ted Roof, who was on the Clemson staff as a consultant in 2021.
Which is interesting because these show notes are the first time I've ever heard that name.
So I remember the name Roof, but couldn't tell you where he was from. Clemson's facing Mike Elko for the first time as head coach. A win would improve Clemson to 43-6 when facing an opposing head coach for the first time since 2011. Clemson did face Elko, just not as a head coach. He was on the staff at Wake Forest. Clemson was 3-0 against the Deacons during that time span. And Texas A&M, the Tigers were 2-0 against the Aggies during that time while he was on staff there as well. On the same subject of facing new coaches, Monday marks the first of 3 consecutive games Clemson will face a new head coach at their respective school. Mike Elko at Duke, Gabe Gardenia at Charleston Southern, and then this was a name that I guess I completely forgot about in the offseason with everything going on. Tom Herman, the coach of Florida Atlantic.
Yeah, I forgot about that also. I was wondering if in these notes where you got your sources from, if they had mentioned if this has ever happened before of Clemson playing not first time head coaches, but I guess
facing them for the first time.
Yeah, in 3 games in a row. That's pretty interesting.
I feel like it may have happened before because if you think about how the schedule sets up for Clemson, a lot of times you're facing these smaller schools where where coaches are constantly being turned out, whether they're getting promotions and moving up or getting fired and that sort of thing. So if it has happened before in a 3-game stretch, I'd imagine it probably would be early in the season like this.
Yeah, I think we might have even come close. I know we played Georgia Tech early in the season last year, and they were still on Jeff Collins at the point. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so, but I think Louisiana Tech's head coach last year was the first time, or like was his first year as head coach at Louisiana Tech, and Clemson's first time facing him. And I believe the team after that, but I can't. It's slipping my mind right now of who it even was.
I feel like I remember us discussing it on the podcast last year. I feel like whoever we played after, or it might have been Furman's coach.
Oh yeah, true.
The week before. So uh, in the series with Duke, some highlights over the years. 1997, Clemson and Duke met in the first overtime game between two ACC teams. The Tigers won the contest by an unusual overtime score, 29-20. David Richardson kicked a field goal on Clemson's possession. Then Raheem Abdullah intercepted a pass and ran it back 63 yards for a score, giving Clemson the rare 9-point overtime win.
Very interesting. That's probably a Clemson scoreagami, if anybody on this podcast knows what a scoreagami is.
I'd imagine you don't see 29 end up a final score too often. But kind of like what we've talked about, there's a lot that we're looking forward to heading into the season. I think you're going to see Clemson take a lot of step forwards this year, but it's one of those things that I know I feel this way, that I got to see it before I believe it. I don't know what to expect Monday night against Duke. The way that the local media, Dabo, is talking, it seems promising, but I wouldn't expect anything different out of Dabo. On the contrary, Shane Beamer down in Clemson, he had his first
South Carolina.
South Carolina. He had his first weekly press conference this week and basically said he was not pleased with the way things have gone in practice today and that kind of stuff. So it could always be something like that, but Dabo tends to be a little bit optimistic. So trying to find things to say and to talk about and discuss. We've discussed a lot in this episode and last week. I don't know how Monday's going to go. I know how I hope it's going to go. But I'm just happy to have Clemson football back in my life.
No, I'm in the exact same boat because I feel like I'm putting on a bad podcast right here because I don't have that much to say about this upcoming game that we're previewing, but I'm just ready for it to start. I feel like we have to see this team on the field before we're even able to know anything, really. So it could be the same as last year, similar stagnant offense and